Good evening, each and every one of you. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for showing up to honor Native America. My name is Lev Natan. I am the executive director and founder of Alliance for a Viable Future. And I just want to say a few words about why this is truly a historic event tonight and a historic weekend. But first, I just want to share about our mission as an organization. Our mission is to develop leadership for climate solutions in our Northeast bioregion and to develop leadership for peacemaking in our Northeast bioregion, because we need to have peace with one another in order to create solutions together. So that goes together, peace and climate solutions for the future. So that's what we're about, and we've created Indigenous Peoples Day events here in Great Barrington in the Berkshires. This is our third year, and we're really grateful that the community, that each of you, appreciates what we're doing, and that we're doing it all together. So this year, in our third year, this is a historic unfolding, what's happening. Number one, it's emotional for me personally. We have a delegation of 15 relatives from the Stockbridge Munsee Band of the Mohicans community, their reservation in Wisconsin. They came all the way over here. Sean Stevens, a good friend of mine, I call him my brother, he invited his relatives, and we're all staying at Kripalu for the weekend. And then we just planted a tree up there this morning to honor the Northeast Indigenous Climate Council. And it was the Stockbridge Munsee representatives that planted that tree on their ancestral homeland. This is also historic this weekend because we have representatives from 15 tribal nations in this council coming together. And we're all here tonight, and we're going to all come up on the stage before the end of the night. So that's historic. And then number three, we have the first ever NAACP award here in the Berkshires for Indigenous leadership in our area, the Dorothy Davids Award. Dorothy Davids is a Stockbridge Munsee figure, a leader, and we have that award for Larry Spotted Crowman in the Okateo Cultural Center. So this is a historic night. Thank you so much for showing up. Each of you, you showed up to honor Native America. I say thank you. And then also, we have events tomorrow and on Monday, but we're just going to stay focused and be here all together right now. So thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to turn it over to the Sean Stevens and the Gitai singers from the Stockbridge Munsee Band of the Mohicans. Thank you so much.
say thank you to my relatives for letting me sit with them on their drum. I just want to say, Kwawagoman, Mawakewa, Yantanewese, Migize Gabo, Yote Mahikanu, and Apoakaki. My name is Standing Eagle, also known as Sean Stevens, and I'm from the Stockbridge Muncie Band of Mohicans. And we've come out, my family, my relatives, some of my family was in the audience, my relatives will come out here, travel over 1,000 miles to be here with all of you today and this weekend, or Indigenous Day. And I kind of want to take a picture of you. I've never got a picture from this side over here. But no pictures here tonight. So, okay. I don't think I could get it with the lighting anyway. But thank you very much for welcoming us here. It means a whole lot to our people that we are welcomed with such open arms and by beautiful people. You know, our history isn't a pretty one. When we were made to leave these lands over 250 years ago, we weren't very much appreciated at the time. But through that time, up to today, a lot has changed. The people of the area here, they want us to come back. They want to know the history, good, bad, ugly. They want to hear it all. And it's an honor for us to come and to share these things because there's a lot of healing, a lot of intergenerational trauma that's gone down through the generations, and of healing of losing the last bit of our God-given lands. And so to be able to come, this is healing not only for us, but it's healing going all the way back with our ancestors. It's healing what's happened to our ancestors. And it's a healing happening today. And it's something beautiful that's happening that creates a bond between both communities for our future generations to come. And I've been coming out here for about 18 years. And in the beginning, very few people knew about Mohicans other than the fictitious book and the movie. My people were written out of history, and even many natives didn't believe there was Mohicans anymore. But we are here, and we live in Wisconsin, and we've, through a lot of turmoil, you know, we're a proud and determined people. And to come here today, to come here these last 18 years and to see how it's progressed, more and more people are understanding of who the First Nations people here were in these areas, not only the Berkshires, but all the way up to Lake Champlain, down to Manhattan Island, into Vermont, Connecticut, Massachusetts, west into New York. The people who actually lived along that Hudson River, and that was our river. We called it the Mohican River. The word is Mahikanatuk. It's for the Mohicans River. It's a great body of water that shifts in many different directions. And so my job, I have to make sure I don't go over my time slot here, is to come and to do a welcoming song. It's a welcoming song, a thank you song, and a gratitude song with my flute. And a lot of our songs, like you've heard with our relatives, sometimes our songs have words, sometimes they don't have words. You know, and even if you don't have words, that's taking that spirit and everything you're feeling inside of yourself and putting it out into a musical melody. So our voices, even our voices, are just much like a flute. You know, so when I'm singing this song, or not, I'm sorry, I'm not singing, when I'm playing this song, I just want you to feel that gratitude. You know, from me, from all of my relatives, my family who has come here this time. And I've been here, like I said, 18 years coming. And for them, it's their first time here. And they're very excited. The energy and, you know, just everything, you can't put it into words what they're feeling right now. And just of all the gratitude for all the people who welcome us is just icing on the cake. And we thank you all for that.
We didn't plan that out in our tech, did we? Osio tohiju, satanana da godoale nigita chichiluki. I am so happy to see each and every one of you. The faces are so beautiful. The colors are so beautiful. The mix is so beautiful. I was going to do a startup song for you from the Northwest Coast, but these guys got you started very nicely. So maybe we'll just ask things to turn their attention towards us, because that's how we're taught. That when you come to a place, you let them know who you are and what your intentions are, and that's been done. So let's just see this. So I present the part of my family that's way out in the Northwest Coast in the north, on the island of Vancouver, and the medicines that go with that. Just ask everything around us, the earth, the sky, all of the beings under the ground to go underneath. Just let them in. You're on their land. One of my many, because I'm old, you have no idea. One of my many beloved elder brothers, Faithkeeper Orrin Lyons, he says when he talks about the land, we've been here a long time. We've been here so long that the dust is us, all of it. So when that dust gets on your things, don't forget you're related. Yeah. And when that dust makes you sneeze, think about how you're breathing. And when that dust gets on your hands, as it does in our way, and becomes dirt, which becomes paint, which is sacred, ask yourself, what's the difference between that and any other thing on Mother Earth? Gusti idadadhni, we are all kindred, we are all integrally related. And not only do we have to remember that, and live like that, and be like that, because those faces are looking at us, whether they're looking from the sky, as some folks say, or looking up at us from under the ground, as other folks say, or looking at us from behind our backs, or staring us in the face. Those ones coming, they're watching us. And that's the example, how we live, how we are being, that they will pick up. You see gorgeous example here, grandkids playing with their grandpa. Beautiful examples. You may have some in your own family like that too, eh? And if you don't know your story, my other friend you'll hear from tonight, our Carlos, he says, and they have a story to say, everybody has a story, and if you don't know your story, you're lost. And we looked at each other and said, we got to rewrite that. So now we say, everyone has a story, and if you don't know your story, go and find it. Ask the questions while you can. And when the folks are gone from you, keep asking those questions, because if you don't open those doors, nothing comes in. Not rocket science, just real Indigenous fact. Real fact. So I am notorious for putting people to work, and in my last few minutes, I'm going to put you all to work, so I'm going to split this audience right down the middle, that way, okay? Ready? Now, they weren't ready for me to pick up this mic and move around either, so just so you know. Yeah. Okay, this side of the room. We're all going to sing together, but we have two different parts. Your part is, I dream of a world united. No one is frightened, everyone is free. Got that? Let's give it a shot. Hang on, you got an easier part, but it takes longer. Here we go. Everybody has to sing it all anyhow. Ready? Here we go. I dream of a world united. No one is frightened, everyone is free. You're halfway home. You ready for the other half? Oh, it's the same, it's different words, geez. Just say, nobody's ever ready. It's okay. It's okay, it's okay. You can see who they are, dancing inside them. Hearts undivided, that's what I wanna be. Ready? You can see who they are, dancing inside them. Hearts undivided, that's what I wanna see. Okay, you ready? Now we go to their part. Actually, everybody goes to their part, so let me go teach them their part. Ready, set? Oh, yes, she will mess up the tech, won't she? You ready? Ready? It's the same thing again and again. You get a bona fide Native American chant, honest, because this is a bona fide Native American anthem for peace. Hi, hi, yeah, hi, hi, yeah. Try that. Hi, hi, yeah, hi, hi, yeah. Now do it again. Hi, hi, hey, hi, hi, yeah. Hi, hi, yeah, hi, hi, yeah. And into the middle of that, I'm going to burst. And I dream. And what we usually do, what we did at the UN the other day, what we usually do in this song is people pop out with their dreams. They stand up and they shout what it is they're dreaming for the world. I don't know that we have that kind of time. So we must have, I'm just going to take the first 4 that pop out with a dream for the world, just one. And you'll hear, and I dream. Ooh, you guys. And I dream. All right. And I dream. And I dream for real. Like you mean it. Thank you. The peace and the clean water. Like you mean it. And then I'll do this little bit in the middle and we'll go back to the top together. You guys ready? Because there's a few things it isn't really a native gathering if you don't do. One of them is eat. One of them is sing. One of them is dance. I'm taking care of the sing part, okay? So, guess what? When we go back to the top, you sing together. You sing the same thing. You sing hi, hi, yay, and they sing I dream. Ready? But first, we'll just hear your half. 1, 4, 3, 2. I dream of a world united. No one is frightened. Everyone is free. You can see who they are, dancing inside them. Hearts undivided. That's what I want to see. Hi, hi, hey, hi, 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 yeah, hi, 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 hey, hi, 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 yeah, hi, here we go. And I dream. And I dream. And I dream. There we go. And I dream. 2 more. And I dream. And I dream. Oh, stop. And I dream. Got to do 1 more. And I dream. Ho! Don't just talk about it. Got to sing and shout it. Hey, 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 hey! I dream all together of a world united. No one is frightened. Everyone is free. You can see who they are, dancing inside them. Hearts undivided. That's what I want to see. Sing again. I dream. Ha, ha, yeah. Ha, ha, yeah. Hi-ya, hi-ya. Hi, hi, hey. Ha, hi-ya. Ha, ha, yeah. Hi-ya, hi-ya. And I dream. Absolutely. Take a second and realize that sound is power, real power, like a rainfall, like lightning. In fact, it is the Koto who say that the lightning is related to the voice. They're not the only ones, just the ones I happen to know about right now. Take a second and think about how everything you say resonates. Keep something alive, as we were taught, or doesn't. And then choose your words for their beauty and their fluidity and their ability to foster and generate real peace in the world on or before 2030, because I don't think we have much time. Thank you so much for listening. Wada.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's Joan Henry. She's a real privilege for us. She speaks all around the world. She sings and she shares at the United Nations as well. So we're really privileged to receive her presence here. And next we have Rhonda Anderson from the Okateo Cultural Center. Welcome, Rhonda. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I get to take this off. Yee. I can't see you. Oh my goodness. Pagalakivsi. Anakaluetak. Kunuk sama. Great Barrington Mute. How you doing? Woo! Wow, Tanakshinaga Nagaga Adiga Rhonda Anderson, Nupiak Shinaga Adiga Ovanga Alak, Kaktovik Miagoranga, Fairbanks Mianai Nuranga, Pangmakpak Uranga Koinami, Shivakutunga, Western Massachusetts Commissioner on Indian Affairs, and founder and co-director of Okateo Cultural Center, me. Koyanak Nalagnagivsi. Thank you for listening. I said welcome and good evening. My name is Rhonda Anderson. As I said, I am a Nupyak from Athabaskan from Alaska. And I just greeted you traditionally in my Inupiat language. I have lived most of my life in Western Massachusetts, and the land that I'm privileged to steward is in Coleraine. That's the historical homelands of Sokoki Abenaki, the Pakamtuk, and the contemporarily present nations of the Nipmuc, Abenaki, and Mohican on the Pacomagon River watershed, which is known as the Green River today. So according to Joan, there's 4 different parts. I'm the activist part. Thank you. So I am so honored to be such a part of an incredible lineup of Indigenous voices tonight in Mohican lands. Thank you, Mahaiwe, for hosting this event in your beautiful theater. And I was really happy to learn that Mahaiwe is a Mohican word that means the place downstream. I really enjoy learning about the place names. And thank you to Alliance for a Viable Future, Lev Natan, for bringing us together to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day in such a meaningful way. How many of you knew that the Indigenous Peoples Day movement began in 1977? No? How many knew it took 10 years for the first official Indigenous Peoples Day to happen in South Dakota in 1987? Yeah, did I hear it? Yeah. Thankfully, since then, we have seen Great Barrington join 25 towns in Massachusetts and 130 cities across Turtle Island. Definitely. Massachusetts is on track, and I say on track, to join 14 states in observing Indigenous Peoples Day and 26 states that do not currently celebrate Columbus Day, with many more joining the right side of history each year. That's right. You know, just yesterday, Boston City Councilors passed a resolution declaring IPD so that the Boston City Hall may raise, for the first time, the flag of the Massachusetts at Ponkapog. It's beautiful. And while you're applauding, I applaud every city, every town, every school system, every business, and every state that chooses to take this small but vital step by creating resolutions recognizing IPD. Resolutions such as these are inclusive of all residents. I'm also honored to be here tonight to witness and celebrate my business partner at Okateo Cultural Center and longtime friend of nearly 30 years, Larry Spotted Crow Man, in receiving the first Indigenous Peoples Freedom Fund Award from Berkshire County NAACP from Dennis Powell. It means a lot. It means a lot to see the inclusion of Indigenous people by the NAACP Freedom Fund, because that's a culmination of 70 years, nearly 70 years, and unity and recognition in the efforts against racism and the fight for freedom from colonization. Indigenous peoples have long struggled and are still struggling for the rights and privileges afforded to citizens of the United States. We cannot do the vital work of social and racial justice without the work of undoing settler colonialism and the resulting systems of oppression, marginalization, and invisibility. We must, thank you, great. We must be doing this work in unity for collective liberation, because we are not free as a society unless we are all free from colonization. See, I get the heavy part. Let me be clear. Racism is an invention of colonialism. The racializations of Indigenous, Black, and brown people through settler colonialism are geared to ensure white settler supremacy as the true and rightful owners and occupiers of this stolen land. Native peoples' identities and struggles are invisibilized to mainstream society today as a necessary way to uphold settler colonialism. This process has occurred through hundreds of years of oppression and genocide of Indigenous peoples and is perpetuated by white supremacy, heteropatriarchy, racism, and capitalism structures. The history of genocide and oppression, to quote Nikki Sanchez, this history is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. We must take responsibility and acknowledge these challenging words and truths of colonization and its legacy. We must be able to understand that colonization is not a historical action, but colonization is an ongoing and continuing practice. We must understand that colonialism profoundly impacts Indigenous communities and individuals in many different ways today. Colonization is also a global climate catastrophe. What is happening through the inevitable loss of balance, the loss of connection to homelands, the loss of reciprocity and relationships to our Mother Earth? Indigenous peoples worldwide are on the front lines of the climate crisis. We also, as Indigenous people, have the experience of being stewards of our land since time immemorial. Deep listening to the vast traditional environmental knowledge of Indigenous peoples can help us navigate these global climate challenges and create unity for a sustainable future for the next 7 generations. We must embrace unity as we consider our relationships with Indigenous lands that colonizers have unjustly claimed worldwide. Decolonization through land back is a responsible path forward to creating a just and equitable system and addressing inequality through education and action. Right, land back. That scare anybody out there? You have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. No, land back has many meanings. It can mean disrupting the power of white supremacy and continued colonization. Land back can mean allowing access to public and private lands for traditional pursuits such as cultural and spiritual ceremonies, the gathering of traditional medicines and subsistence foods. Land back can mean returning the land to tribal stewardship, tenure, and governance. Land back can mean recreating reciprocity with the earth by implementing that traditional environmental knowledge and allowing the earth to live in her natural state. Land back can mean raising funds to help support these ongoing efforts. And yeah, Land back can literally mean returning the land to Indigenous people who are forcibly removed and dispossessed from this land. Yeah, it can mean that. But the first step to begin this process is deep listening. Our responsibility is to learn of the Indigenous people whose land you live on and where they are today. Ask how you can lift their voices and struggles. Listen and center those Indigenous voices to begin building lasting, essential, reciprocal relationships. We must hear each other through our differences to find common ground on which to build trust. We must also understand the most fundamental common ground as human beings. We all depend on Mother Earth for everything we need to survive. As human beings, we are not separate from nature, but we are a part of nature. Too many human beings have lost this understanding, lost that belonging, and in doing so have lost their way, right? That loss, it breaks that circle of nature. When you take yourself out of that circle, it breaks that circle. We must find our way back to that circle in unity, in belonging, and in our rightful place. As nurturers and protectors, it is our responsibility to give voice to our voiceless relatives, the land, the water, the animals. And we must, as Indigenous people, regain autonomy and control over our representation, identity, land access, tenure, and stewardship. We must understand our complicated and intertwined histories as human beings moving forward. We must strengthen our relationships within Native communities and once again live in reciprocity with our collective mother, Mother Earth. And we need you, allies and accomplices and co-conspirators out there. We need you to actively disrupt colonization and racist structures on a reflexive level. Don't think about it, just do it. Reflexive. You must actively take responsibility and support local tribal nations and support their sovereignty. And you can do this by supporting traditional environmental knowledge and that essential work that is going into reviving these practices and the ongoing re-indigenization through Native organizations such as Okateo, Eastern Woodlands Rematriation Collective, the Grandmother's Wisdom, and the many individuals that you will hear from over the next few days. Another actionable step that we can take is supporting the 5 bills in the State House and that 6 tribes of Massachusetts support. These bills are to change Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day, respect our cultural heritage so it is not sold in auction houses. There's another bill to create an appropriate educational curriculum in our schools. And finally, a bill to create a permanent commission to ensure the education of Native students. You can do this by visiting maindigenousagenda.org, contact your local legislator, learn more, find out ways that you can support these efforts. And plus, I see you, Berkshire County, and all that you're doing out here, changing names of mountains, getting rid of those harmful mascots. I see you, you're doing great work. Plus this weekend, off the charts, I'm telling you. Just being here and actively listening is a starting point. I hope you will find inspiration through our speakers and our presenters throughout the weekend to move us forward with responsibility and unity for the next 7 generations. In closing, the powerful words of our rising generation comes to mind. Our very existence is an act of resistance and intervention. We are the generation our ancestors have been waiting for. Thank you for listening. That's all.
Rhonda Anderson, thank you. Thank you. And now we're going to have Dennis Powell, the president of the Berkshires chapter of the NAACP, speaking about this new award that he's going to give. And I just want to say one quick thing, Dennis, about how this award came to be in a really beautiful, meaningful way. I first met Dennis at a Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Event in Pittsfield. You were speaking, and I sat in the back, and I'll never forget what you said. You said, his name is Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So just right there, that respect that you taught me, I appreciate it. And then from then on, I said, I want to get to know you. Just from that. And then I said, I want to have you at this Indigenous Peoples Day event last year to establish the solidarity. And from that, you spoke. And then a couple months later, I get a phone call. Say, I was inspired. I was inspired by being all together. I want to create this award. So that's how it works. We don't know. We're just moving forward together, and we're inspiring each other. So thank you for being inspired and moving in with inspired action. Dennis Powell.
Thank you. And as the president of the Berkshire County branch of the NAACP, I bring you greetings from our executive committee and the 450 members of our branch. We are honored and proud to be a sustainer sponsor of this event because we know the importance of assuring that this event becomes a staple here in Berkshire County. We know that as a community, we can no longer ignore the great people who occupied this land long before we arrived. The caretakers of this land understood and worshiped it. They respected our rivers. They valued our trees, bushes, insects, and fellow creatures. They knew how to coexist with nature. The wisdom of the indigenous people, both the wisdom that we are aware of and the wisdom that we have yet to know and may never know, must be revered for its preciousness. Only with this reverence can true inclusion and transformation occur within this community. To showcase our commitment to recognizing and celebrating Indigenous people annually, in 2021, our local branch established the Indigenous People Award. The only other award we give annually at our Freedom Fund celebration is the W.E.B. Du Bois, as our way of making sure that his name will always be present in our community. The person we selected to be the first recipient of the 2021 Indigenous People Award was Larry Spotted Crowman, who received the award from Shirley Edgerton, chair of our Race Relations Committee, and also good friend of Larry's. Now, While we knew who would receive the award, the actual award had not been decided upon. Because we believe in going to the right storytellers. So I reached out to Lev, who reached out to Sean, who reached out, and the Stockbridge Muncie community decided it would be called the Dorothy Aunt Dot Davies Indigenous People Award. Dorothy was an author, poet, teacher, educator, speaker, community developer, counselor, peacemaker, activist for peace and justice, and benefactor. Known for her wisdom, knowledge, generosity, and kindness. Larry Spotted Crow Man of the Nipmuc tribe is an internationally acclaimed playwright, poet, Native American culture educator, traditional storyteller, tribal drummer, dancer, motivational speaker, consultant on Indigenous pedagogy, and friend of Berkshire County's branch of the NAACP. Larry, please. That's all right. The award reads, Larry Spotted Crow Man, the Dorothy Aunt Dot Davies Indigenous Peoples Award for community service and activism for peace and justice 2021, presented by Shirley Edgerton.
It's heavy too.
And I just want to close by saying the NAACP, Berkshire County, all thank you for your service that you render to this community.
Thank you. Thank you. Kutabadamish. Ni Wichiayim Nahag Ninawak. Wo Nashan Natumomenatu. Tabatni. Watuchi Kinnisin. Okumis. Tabatni Wichisa Pausu. Usukati Honat. Notas Ninawamanantiok. King Nuta Yio Pentaminok. Menameo Ninawame Quantam Kichiak. Ka Mata Wanantam. Ka Nagutia Kokutam Ninawan. Manatu, usukati huana, womaneta tio, ka nosokomuso amoke, ninaho kankanto chokesiche, niayo. Tabatni manatu, niwachi, I am NAACP, Alliance for a Viable Future, Mahaiwe Center, and all of you. I want to thank all my friends, my family, those who have supported me. I've been an artist, poet, activist my entire adult life. A defender of sobriety, somebody who's that's dear to me. I am co-founder and co-director of the Oki'teo Cultural Center, and I'm just so thrilled. I'm seeing so many things I thought I would never live to see in my lifetime. It is truly revolutionary times. Oki'teo is the first Indigenous run and operated cultural center ever to be here in Western Mass and all of Central Mass, ever. So we are thrilled, as my co-director Rhonda pointed out, to be able to doing this life-changing work. And it's about alliances. It's about folks who are out there, like our partners Double Edge Theater, Bunker Hill Community College, who we're doing revolutionary work with, changing the entire curriculum to reflect the indigenous cultures and peoples of this land. In our work with the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, we have created a curriculum developed for our indigenous youth for drug and alcohol prevention, using our traditional methods of storytelling, arts, and understanding that spiritual connection of the wholeness. Between 2014 and 2016, sadly, we had 24 suicide and overdoses of indigenous youth here in our state. We were losing one child per month, and we knew we had to act fast. We are under crisis. We are under attack because of the many vicissitudes of our society and the various things that we have suffered. So I'm so grateful to be able to be that medium in my entire life. And I know we don't have much time, but it's very important that I share that my life of sobriety and overcoming addiction at a very young age. And I've shared this story many times with various reporters and interviews and things like that, but I'd like to share briefly how my life changed. Growing up here in the school system, coming from, and I heard the word generational trauma mentioned before, coming from 3 generations of children who were taken, and being now the first generation college where all my family prior, my mom and all that, didn't have much need for school, because school was a place you went to die or be abused. And I was a continuation of that, certainly not as severe as they've gone through, those gut-wrenching reports of those testimonies from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that you hear of our survivors. But certainly growing up in the 70s and 80s here in Western Mass, the abuse and the bullying from the teachers from being indigenous was devastating, enough to turn many of our decisions to be poor decisions, turning to drugs and alcohol. And knowing I'm a Native person from this land, but always being treated like an outsider on my own land. And I recall very, very clearly on my 21st birthday, after many years of doing crazy things and drinking and getting in a lot of trouble and things like that, I was in the hospital, drinking too much, alcohol poisoning, had the IVs, and on the TV there was documented, because I was an intuitive child. I loved science, I loved to learn, but of course alcohol was impeding that. So I was watching this PBS documentary. Of all people, it comes on Christopher Columbus. Yes. And the narrator went into great detail explaining how the Europeans brought alcohol to the indigenous people for the first time, and how they summarily robbed, extracted, destroyed, usurped their land, destroyed their people through the use of this alcohol. They weaponized it. And it was such a moving description, and with such rich and vivid detail. And I don't know what happened to me at that. I was 21, still a kid, but I was so moved by that. I left that hospital, and I never drank again after that day. And I'm 55 now, and since that age of 21, I've spent my life doing what I'm doing right now, fighting for our people, fighting so that other youth coming up behind me don't have to experience those same things. And when I see our tribal youth excelling not only in academia, but in their cultural expressions, through opportunities that Okiteo provides and many other organizations who are now out there through our allyships, and I see them thriving and believing in themselves and taking new strides in not only culture, but also like STEM work and the various opportunities that are now provided for them. It's really remarkable. And I'd just like to close with this. When we think about land acknowledgements and different things like that, and I had the opportunity to travel the world with my books and various things, and spent time in some of the most remote places like Greenland and Nook, Greenland, and traveled up the Biscay River in Sweden and all that, and have all these various people contact me for various programs, schools and so on and so forth. Then it's about 8 months ago, I get an email from my junior high school. And one of the places I've suffered the most abuses, and this was in the 80s, there was a lot of racial divide, there was busing going on. It was a really horrible place there, that school, with the teachers and all of them. I won't put them out there right now, but I did it enough. But anyway, this teacher, who's probably half my age now, sends me this email, Mr. Mann, we'd love to get your consultation on writing a land acknowledgement for the school, and we have this curriculum now. And I stared at that email for about a half hour, just thinking about, this is the school that they told me I didn't exist. This is the school where the teachers would pull my hair and make fun of me along with the students. And I said, this is what a land acknowledgement means to me. This is like, wow, like, yeah, about time. But and I think it's a really powerful time to be an ally. And in this Indigenous Peoples Day, I remind all of our Indigenous folks when I get asked these various questions about, because we don't get the day off, we're working. I want the day off. I like to be at the beach and eat ice cream, but we're working, And so we gotta figure that out. But I tell our Indigenous folks, as we're out there sharing our art, our cultures, our music, it is not our job to teach other people our humanity. It is up to them to find the humanity within themselves, to see it in the world around them. And so with that, I am so grateful for this. This really means a lot, so much, because as I said, I spend a lot of my time talking and proceeding out, but it's great to receive some things in sometimes, so it feels good. Thank you.
Good afternoon, good day, whatever time it is, wherever you're at. I'm R. Carlos Nakai, and I want to do two songs. Two original songs that will be performed here for this venue. I work with instruments that were given to the indigenous tribes in the Northeast, somewhere around what today are regarded as Maine, Massachusetts, maybe New Hampshire, maybe inland, a little bit around the mountains, around Massachusetts, wherever, but they came across the flue pipes of the pipe organ, and we took them, of course, as indigenous tribes when they were spread throughout the North American continent, and we began designing, redesigning, and doing things with them as we ran across different music people and said, drill a hole here, drill a hole there. So we end up with, like this instrument, a 6-finger hole flute, which is tuned to the key of G minor or B flat because of the bore diameter. And it's quite unusual because for some unknown reason, they decided that was the perfect tuning for Southern Plains music, because they sing low, but the flute sounds high. Demonstration. So that's a call. So that's the sound of this instrument in G minor. Of course, the sound of the instrument spread rapidly through the Great Lakes tribes and other tribes who were moving steadily westward, and so many of them brought either the flue pipes that came off the pipe organs, or they brought adaptations of those flue pipes as basic flutes. And when they got out around the Great Lakes and other places, then they began designing instruments in their own way. So many of the flutes that we see today, you can readily discern what tribe they may have been used by based on the colors that were used, because they were painted sort of like the painted arrows that we carried when we were hunting. And so the flutes had that coloration, and then they also had a particular stylization that was based on the old stories that talked about how we related to the things in the environment that surrounded us, including the birds and animals. So today, we work with these instruments in that manner, playing the old songs that come from ceremonies. This is a 5-hole flute, and this flute comes from an area around northern Missouri, eastern Indiana, Ohio, somewhere in that region. And when the Lakotas were moved onto the plains from being woodlands people, then they brought the instruments with them. And if you've ever heard those songs at powwows, they're sung very high, and this instrument So these are two traditional sounding instruments that actually came by influence to North America from the European cultures who were inventing probably the most well-known musical instrument we know of today. Its offshoot, of course, is the synthesizer, but before then they were cutting down a lot of old growth wood in the Northeast to make the flue pipes for the flue pipes that were used on what's called a pipe organ today, and the calliope that you hear once in a while now at carnivals and other public gatherings. It's regarded as, well, they call it Big Bird. This one has a depiction of a coyote jumping over the moon, and it could be also the evening star or Sirius, the place where we came from. And so many stories now belong to this instrument and the songs that we play on them, because they all relate to how we arrived here from the South Pacific, following the backbone of the Great Snake, and ended up in the Americas where we are today. So have a good time, and we'll be in touch. Thank you.
So Carlos Nakai is someone who I listen to every morning for the last many years, so it's a real dream that he could be with us tonight. The album Canyon Trilogy, I recommend. It never gets old. It's like listening to a stream. You know, you can just always sit by it, and every morning for me, that's how I am able to get some good thoughts in my mind with his music. So while I was listening, this is a little something that just came up in my heart right now. I want to say thank you to Susan Jameson, because she brought him here. Susan, could you just come out for a second and just wave? Where are you? I just want to say thank you, because she has worked tirelessly to put this event together with the Mahaiwe. And she's a force of nature. She just keeps going. And also, she organized the powwow here in the Berkshires for 12 years, from 2006 to 2017. She remembers the first one in Pittsfield at the YMCA. She can tell you the stories, you know. Sean got the key to the city. There's lots of stories, but where are you? You'll come out before the end of the night, but I just want to say thank you so much to Susan Jameson. Probably half of you are here because she invited you personally, I imagine. And then in that gratitude, you know, that was welling up, you know, she befriended our Carlos Nakai and his wife, you know, she just made friends with them, and so he wanted to come, but he has something this coming week, so, you know, no promises, but we're hoping next year, you know, he's going to make the trip out. But in that spirit of deep gratitude, I was also then thinking about the Life Comes From It Foundation, that has supported this weekend tremendously in so many ways, financially, and then the teachers and the guides that have come. The next 3 speakers that are coming up here have come through our relationships with the Life Comes From It Foundation. So I'm really grateful to the relationship we're establishing through someone I call my brother, Seth Lennon Weiner. Just want to mention his name. Yeah. And then on that note, I want to say thank you to the Christopher Reynolds Foundation. Andrea Panaritis from this community, thank you. And it's a beautiful lineage right there. That foundation, the one of their first grants was for the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King to travel to India to study peacemaking from Gandhi. So we're in that lineage. It's meaningful. Thank you. Christopher Reynolds Foundation. And then Housatonic Heritage, Dan Bogliani, thank you for his support. I told him we're bringing a delegation of Stockbridge Muncie. That's all I had to say. He was right there. He was right there with support to bring them out here. Thank you. And then we have many business and local sponsors too. The co-op, Guido's, many sponsors. I'm really grateful to all the support in the community. I just felt this moment, I wanted to say that. And then I want to introduce someone. It's a real honor. Every single person that has come up here, it's a real honor that they're sharing their time with us to travel over here. And the next speaker we have is grandmother Margaret Behan. She's was on the International Council for the 13 Indigenous Grandmothers. They travel all around the world, and I'm getting emotional, feeling it in my heart that she got on the plane and came over here from Oklahoma City. So please, thank you.
Hashem, I say thank you to you. In Cheyenne, that means you make me happy, but we translate it into using it as say thank you. So I want to do maybe 3 commercials here or plugins. I was at the first powwow at Pittsfield. I was at the first powwow at Pittsfield. And just like a grandma, I asked for seemed impossible. When someone asks the grandma, what do you want? And I said I wanted to have a nonprofit of the Cheyenne Elders Council. And the attorney came from Pittsfield or here? Suzanne? Berkshire's, okay? He came forward, and on the napkin, table napkin, I wrote my mission statement. We will heal our own oppression, which covered a lot of subjects. The other thing is happening in present time is your generation, young people's generation, like live here. And it's like my grandchildren. When this honor of this award, I told my daughter, I wish that for my grandson, Dante, who's in treatment right now. And I wish for lots of things, and I pray for them. So, being here in the Berkshires, we have been in council for 2 days with the Northeast Climate Change Council. It's historical to me, yesterday, today, and to have your presence here, your attention. So I have written a speech. So I am not defined by my age or gender, but as a grandmother of 3 generations carrying knowledge of the traditions and wisdom of the heart. I am one who walks in truth and dignity, no matter how poor, and with humility, no matter how revered. I have been taught to serve by feeding the people, even if I am sharing the last of my groceries and aching with my fatigue. When there's nothing left to give, my heart remains open. I am here to help with the healing of our communities as a spiritual, political, and culture figure. I also hope to be a role model and source of inspiration to each of you. With respect to our environment, I speak honestly on topics of life as First Nation person. I was not broken by government boarding schools. I have dedicated my life to making sure my culture survives the challenges of the dominant culture. I want to share my traditional healing practices, sacred rituals, and religious beliefs with you. My next generation, I want you to become familiar with your family, roles, tribal societies, ceremonial practices, and language. Even with the resilience of our culture, after we have shared all of our art, artifacts, regalia, peace pipes, sweat lodges, and Sundance ceremonies, we are still not considered to be part of America. I have been asked, are there any more real Indians? We are more than 500 tribal nations with over 350 reservations. Our teachers are the fire, the elements of this environment. Stones, healing foods, tobacco, plant medicines, water, and the eagle plume. We continue to uphold life on this land, even when we feel invisible. We never stop dancing. We never stop singing our songs. We never stop saying our prayers. We know that they are reaching those on the other side. We are still here after all the massacres, broken treaties, reservations, and horrific poverty. I am a grandmother's child. My grandmother raised me. Despite the traumatic struggles I faced in my own life, I have lived to see my 3 children blessed me with 8 grandsons, 3 granddaughters, and 3 great-grandchildren, 1 boy and 2 girls. I see myself in my grandchildren, especially my great-grandson and granddaughters. My grandmother would say, "I see myself in you." My great-granddaughter, 7 years old now, we have conversations, and one conversation was, she asked me, "Where's your father and mother?" And when I answered her that they had gone to the next camp, she immediately insisted on sharing her parents with me. She treated me as if I was 7 years old, just like her. I stepped back with them as I step back with you today. I was asked to be one of the 13 grandmothers on this International Council in 2004, where we founded the council was in Phoenicia, New York, in the new millennium, and have been honored to travel the world with them. The African grandmother would scare me when she would stand up in our council meetings and look around and say, "I stand for Africa." Today, maybe I can say, I stand for Turtle Island. And I want to say thank you, to this land and the people here. Ancestors we talk about all the time, and to I believe that with your help, with the outer world here in this news that we had council here. And I'm so grateful that I could be one part of them to answer the call. So I thank you for being here. And I get to see how you behave. I get to see how you are. So thank you very much.
And now we have Cheryl Fairbanks. She's a very generous teacher of peacemaking that has also traveled a long way to be here. And we're very grateful to have you, Cheryl, for your generosity of spirit, your wisdom. Thank you so much.
Ganesh Chish, everyone, thank you for this beautiful evening. And I feel so humbled and honored to be here with you. Huksani, precious children of the land. Hin Aksu Sani, precious children of the water. I thank you again, especially our brothers and sisters, the Mohegan people, Ganesh Chish, and to my brothers and sisters who are here from many nations, Ganesh Chish, for being here. Your resiliency has shown through today and yesterday through many, many, many prayers and many, many, many tears and laughter. And to Lev and his beautiful wife and son and your team. And what you've done here in Massachusetts is amazing. When I first arrived, I knew I saw an Alaska Native, and she was up here singing her song, Ganesh Chish, to the Inupiaq people. You warmed my heart with your words. And to Larry, you stand for our many, many men. And we're matriarchal, you know, my tribe, but your words were so heartwarming, and I just want to share them with my sons when I get home and my grandsons. Ganesh Chish. Coming here, I didn't exactly know what was going to happen, but I really thought a lot about today and yesterday as we sat around the fire and prayed and shared our stories and songs and our lessons. And we have been in one major peacemaking. And I didn't learn the peacemaking from anyone other than my own Satkwe, my grandmother, who was Raven, and matriarch of the Takwanedi people, and from my brother, Chief Justice Emeritus Robert Yazzie, Ganesh Chish. Today, we brought our ancestors into our circle today, and we sat in silence, we sat in prayer. We sang songs, like I said, we told stories. And in our laughter and in our many languages that were spoken today, we knew that 7 generations prayed for us so we could be here. Ganesh Chish. And sometimes it seems like 7 generations is a long time, but it's within our own lifetime. My own Katse, who was the matriarch of the Takwanedi, my great-grandmother. My Satkwe, my grandmother, Lillian Driggs Demert, who was half Tlingit and half Russian Finn, and she could not speak English, but spoke our language, Tlingit. And she really knew that we had to have the education, and she was a peacemaker. And she would sit everyone down, and she was deaf. But boy, she got her words across, and we were fortunate to have her for our grandmother. And my own father, he's known as the strong man, Gathwaite, and he was a strong man, very resilient. I'm from a fishing family, and our whole life is around fishing, and he is the strong man. And I am Sakotkwa, named by my grandmother, and I'm Cha'ak, eagle on the Tlingit, and Lakshibu on the Tsimshian, house of the wolf. And my own son, who will be the 5th generation, Dekitjath, from the killer whale people. When you lift up the ocean, there are the killer whale people, and they teach you the kindness. And his daughter, Leslie, from the double fin, and she makes up the 6th generation. And my great-grandchildren, 2 boys, follow their mother from the killer whale, from the double fin killer whale. And as you know, the failed federal and state policies have caused us a lot of harm. And we're here to heal today. And having been on the land of our brothers and sisters, the Mohegan people, I felt as we were healing the land, we were healing ourselves. And I say Gunash Chish to you and your beautiful songs and those young people and the different generations with that drum bringing us all together with our hearts beating together in unity. And so I ask you to think about an Indigenous worldview. And I ask you to shift your thinking. In law school, we were very schooled in American jurisprudence to win at all costs. I'm a lawyer, I love to win. But that hasn't worked for us as the Indigenous people of North America. So we've had to shift our thinking. And I challenge you to shift your thinking to one that's more spiritual, one where everyone has a chance to speak and speak in our own native language, which many of us were not allowed to speak, and to bring that spirituality into a circle of peace, a circle of kindness, a circle of love. And the H, of course, is for holistic, for healing. And that's very, very important to us given the genocidal principles that we've had to withstand. We're a resilient people, and I saw that resiliency. I felt it in my heart. And as I prayed around the fire this morning, for the next 7 generations, and that's very, very important. And the I, of course, is for Indigenous, and so that we as the Indigenous people of North America, we can share our lessons, our songs, our tears, our laughter. And when I say the I, Indigenous, there are many issues, many, many issues that we can sit down together. And as Chief Justice Emeritus Yazzie said, talk it out, talk it out. There is a solution. And so I get to the F, which means facilitation. We have to practice, practice, practice. Agree to disagree, but with respect, so we don't polarize our families, so we don't polarize our communities. And we want the basic fundamental freedom that is promised to us in the US Constitution and our customary law. So I ask you to be agents of change so that we can transition. One, so that we can use our creativity and innovation to make a difference here on Turtle Island. Like my grandmother said, Margaret. And so in closing, I say, sovereignty begins at home, so does peacemaking. And in my own language, I say, I guwayahan, be strong and have courage. You can be the change. And Gunash Chish means thank you from my heart.
Thank you. Thank you, Cheryl Fairbanks, for those teachings. And now we're going to hear from Chief Justice Emeritus Robert Yazzie of the Navajo Nation. He also traveled a long way to be here, and we're grateful for your teachings too. I'm so grateful that I was able to meet you this springtime and that you said, yes, I want to come here. Thank you.
Yat in Navajo we say, da si, means stand up. I'm just kidding. I want to share my experience the knowledge that I have learned from being a judge, being a lawyer, having gone to law school. And it's a pleasure to be here with you. I want to be here. I want to be a part of your recovery, my relatives, Native relatives here. And you have such a, strong spirit that you have each other, that you can see the future. You can see the possibilities of rebuilding your nation. And I want to be a part of that. Not only me, but all of us who come from out west. And so I was just sitting there thinking, what can I say? I can say many things, and I have said many things. But one of the things that I really am so enthused about, driven, is to join the way in which the Indian people are trying to shape, look at the moment and try to shape the future. And mainly for our kids, our grandkids. So, I'm 75 years old, and I don't feel 75 because, I have a long ways to go. And I see myself as a leader, not ani and shle. And it took a long time to understand how to be a Nat'ani and the role that I played as the Chief Justice of the Navajo Nation Supreme Court. And also, sitting there like a judge. I was a trial judge for 7 years. And I went to law school. And I did my best to learn the law. And when I sat from the bench, I began to rule the issues in cases. And one thing I noticed is that, I was speaking too much English. And I was looking at the IRAC method, the issue, the rule of law, the analysis, and the conclusion. One day, I hear two lawyers, white lawyers, arguing with each other, arguing the fine points of law. Then I look down to my left. I see the clients just looking up. What are we doing? Are we here for their purpose, or are we here for our purpose? So I began to think, this is probably 1985, 87. I began to think, is there such a thing as Navajo traditional law, Navajo custom law? So I began to read. There wasn't much to read. There are a lot of cases that talk about Indian issues. There are a lot of authors who talk about the Navajo way. I wasn't so much interested in that. I wanted to read something that comes from the mind of the writing. And lo and behold, medicine people, 11 of them, went to the Navajo Nation Council and presented their proposed law in Navajo. And of course, after that, there was the translation. So I thought, what a good move. If you want to learn tradition, custom, why not do it in your language? And some say, I don't know the language. Well, when I read the content, the Declaration of the Fundamental Law of the Dene, Bitsasile means what was written before this piece came into being. I said, we are writing, what they used to call man-made law. But the law that I'm talking about is the law that comes from the beginning. And when I read the declaration by the Navajo medicine people, it said, Nahasando Yadishkil, Sendo to the Zen, meaning that the holy people, with their songs and prayers, with which the holy people, Nahasando Yadishkil, Nsahakesil Khadeti La. So I said, how do you translate that? Earth and the universe from which our thinking comes from. And then you read the next line that says, Tho dot zeltiyeni, nahat abel khatatilya, means the mountain, the water, is what makes up our ability to plan. Then I read the next line that says, Nilche, nan set al khas e donche, inna be belkhatatilya, means that the air and various vegetation makes up our concept of life, something that puts things into place for implementation purpose. And the last one is si hasen. Whatever you thought from the beginning has to reappear at the end. To say si. The results that you come upon in terms of your problem solution, any problem. And I come to find out that Navajo law does not only resolve the laws that are written in the books. I've come to find out that the laws that are created by the holy people way back in time can be used for anything, is there to resolve problems. So I began to look at that seriously. So I teach my students. My first day teaching the students, I said, here are the American law books. And there's nothing here. And I said, we're going to learn traditional law, custom law, natural law, common law of the Navajo people, not the European common law. If we say we have nothing to begin with, then let's start with nothing. And we did. Today, that's all we talk about. I love to teach law. I always encourage, learn as much as you can. If you're learning about contracts, property, then learn them. But take another step and say, what's the Navajo law of contract, property? And we began to put pieces together. And one of the most helpful part is the method that was given by the medicine people. They were able to recall the creation. They were able to say the very first thing that you use to analyze any problem, no matter the more difficult the problem, the better. Especially when there's no law at hand. But if you use the thinking, you can think of many things to define what problem do you have? Why do you have this problem? And how can you fix it? So I tell my students, once you have done that, then you are able to look at the concepts in Navajo, that every problem is faced with a solution, to the point of saying there's a solution for every problem. So this sounds like peacemaking, and it is peacemaking. So today, I'm involved with many different organizations, and one of them is the Navajo Bar Association. I'm a part of the admissions committee. And every time we give a bar exam, it's always the state model, always the state model. I said, I'm going to change that. Take the state model out. I'm not saying it just to be, rude. I'm saying it because the people who we serve deserve it. They deserve, assistance of lawyers. And it would be well for a person who wants to practice law in the Navajo jurisdiction to know Navajo culture, to know Navajo language. And a lot of the non-Indian resist and don't want to take it. I said, that's fine. If you don't want to take it, don't take it. If you don't take it, you don't practice law in the Navajo Nation. So that's to say that, there are a lot of good response by the non-Indian lawyers. They study really hard. And I'm talking this way to you. If I'm sharing something to you, to my native relatives who are, you live here on this land. If you want to, build your own institution, that's, the origin of it is native. We're here to help. We're here to help. So one of the things that really gives me resilience, and the more I study Navajo law, traditional law, natural law, the more there is to learn. And I always say, I don't know much about Navajo law. How much do I know? About that much. And that's a lot. So I hope, what I'm saying will resonate with you, the Native people who are present here. Just a words of encouragement. You heard our grandmother speak, heard Cheryl speak, and there's also Rainey here. And many other people we sit together every day, and we're sharing each other's our knowledge. We're sharing with each other the pieces of the puzzle and putting the puzzle together to see what the picture would look like. That's peacemaking. And I just wanted to share that much with you, and I think my 7 minutes is up. Thank you.
Okay, so for this last honoring song here, I want to call up this Northeast Indigenous Climate Council. We want to honor you. So as you're singing, I'm going to call everyone's name. Coming up, Sean Stevens. Please come out. Oh, you're right there. Nice. We're good. Thank you. Ginger Stevens, Winona Cosbob, yeah, keep going. Grace Spencer, Madeline Romero, and on the drum we have Gordon Williams, Patricia Williams, Little Bear Williams, Devra Williams, Duz Williams, Wabanashi Williams, Jasmine Williams, Gabe Williams, Yasmin Williams, Aaron Athey, Chelsea Thompson, Chief Jake Singer, Steve Smith, Roman Guariguarish Perez, Diana Perez, Robert Yazzie, Margaret Behan, Cheryl Fairbanks, Rainey and Hadi, Quinn Miller, Michael Foster, Molly O'Grady, Christine Hill, Sarah Jolena Walcott, Andy Cole, Melissa Bear, Robin Coe, Susan Jameson, Michael Johnson, Emily Costello, Don Casper, Sarah Natan, Mike Najuan. My apologies. Thank you. So if you want to hear more from the drummers, then you can come out on Monday. Just walk down Main Street around 11 o'clock. When you hear the drum, just follow it. We're going to be behind the town hall at the gazebo starting at 11 o'clock with this heartbeat, with this drum here, and a sacred fire, and then more words that we're sharing. And then we're going to walk down Main Street all together. And then we're going to cross Main Street, and we're going to walk down Main Street some more, because we're honoring Indigenous Peoples Day on Main Street, in Great Barrington. That's what we're doing on Monday. And then we're going to turn down on Bridge Street, and we're going to walk past the co-op, and we're going to walk to the bridge over the river. We're going to take our offerings. We're going to make prayers with the tobacco, and we're going to pray for the river, our Housatonic, our beloved river. It needs healing. Then we're going to go and stand in a big circle to symbolize that peace that we're going to have in the future on the baseball field. So we want to invite you to do that with us on Monday. And then tomorrow night, you can tune in on the live stream. We're going to be up at Kripalu, sharing more wisdom, more teachings, and more learning. We're all learning here in this council. It's all learning about how to move. We don't know, but then together we are learning more. Like Chief Justice Robert Yazzie said, there's lots of problems, but they all have solutions when we come together with our hearts and our minds. So on that note, some of you received a note card when you came in. We tried to get one to everyone, but hopefully you got one. A note card and a pen. So I want you to take that moment, because also it was said, I'm standing up here. Grandmother Margaret, she said, I stand for Turtle Island. So each and every one of us, we have a role to play. You showed up. Here you are. This is our community all together. So what's your role to play? Let's write it down right now while it's fresh, while it's inspired in your heart. That drumbeat is still resonating in our heart. All these teachings, all these beautiful words. You can write it down, and write your email, and you can put it in the box as you leave, so we can stay connected and grow this alliance of our community. So thank you, each and every one of you. You can take a moment to do that, and then have a beautiful night and get home safe.
Hey, yo, hey, hey.